So tonight we're going to talk about everyone's favorite topic, unforgiveness. Yay! Oh, come on. I see you all so excited there. But you know what? It's a really great subject. And the reason that it's so great is because it really gives us a chance to free ourselves. And tonight we're actually talking about forgiveness of ourselves, for ourselves. Yeah. Because forgiveness for many of us, it can be about the fact that we think we need to forgive a situation or a person or whatever the case may be, an incident, and to move through that. And that's one part of forgiveness. But what about all the times where we really know in our heart we kind of let ourselves down about something? We didn't maybe step up. Hey, Jessica, how you going? Thanks for joining. Maybe step up in a time we should have. And we're going to unpack that a little bit more tonight. And I'm also going to be very vulnerable with you, beautiful ladies, and share some of my journey in this because I'm sure I'm not alone here. Who's ever gone through people pleasing times, ever felt abandonment, ever felt like they had to be the peacemaker and had to keep everybody else happy and kind of had to push their own stuff down, like, my voice doesn't matter. Yutay, my win is going to the gym when I can, despite being very busy and still releasing weight bit by bit. Yeah, awesome. That is so cool. Congratulations. That's great. So I know for me that I really struggled with people pleasing because coming from my background, I'd come from a domestic violence background and a lot of abuse, unfortunately, and on every level, emotional, mental, all that sort of stuff. And so I learned from a very young age that my feelings got pushed aside in order to keep the peace. Because if I kept the peace, everybody was safe, right? If I could make someone feel better or not feel upset or divert their attention, then maybe somebody wouldn't get hurt. And I learnt that from the youngest of age. And so growing up, that meant that I really didn't have a very good sense of who I was. I didn't have a very good sense of what I was about. And I certainly didn't have a great lot of sense around boundary setting. Who's ever had some problems with boundary setting and values? Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I really struggled with that because how can you set healthy boundaries if you don't know what a boundary even looks like, right? And how can you actually have a value system when you spent your whole life appeasing other people so you don't even know what your own values are because you've never really stopped to ask yourself the question. And in that sense, that's where we can really, really hurt ourselves. And we need to come to a place where we can forgive ourselves from that because we know it in our hearts of hearts that we've let ourselves down for whatever the reason may be. And we know we should have turned up differently because as we grow, we do gain some skills, some knowledge. We see some people do things and we learn and we go, okay, yeah, I should step up. But there's kind of that feeling like, oh, I just don't know if I can take that step, right? And then we come to this place and we look back and we go, gee, I wish I hadn't have done that. I really wish I had stepped up and said that thing or done that thing. If I had just changed that opportunity. And it affects so many parts of our lives. I'm just going to share Shelley's win while I'm in here too. My win, I got through uni exams, woohoo! And I didn't stack on the weight like I normally do. Awesome. Hang on a second, I've lost that way to go. There we go. Like I normally do. I didn't lose anything either, but I'm still stoked I didn't pack it on. That is an absolute win, an absolute win. Do you know what I want to share with you girls that for about 6 or 7 months, I've not lost really any weight up until the last week I lost 2 kilos. So it's the first time about 6 or 7 months. Yeah. I've stayed exactly where I was. So yeah, it happens. And there's lots of reasons for that, but I'm starting to lose again too. So that happens in our weight loss journey, and never beat yourself up about that too. Um, uh, Deb, did I miss something you said earlier? Beautiful. Oh, my win this morning at 2 degrees, I plunged into the sea with a bunch of other courageous women at 6:30 a.m. this morning. I know, I saw that. Oh my gosh, I was cold looking at you, Deb. I was cold looking at you. That is sensational. I love it. I love it. It's something that I want to embrace too. I've been trying the cold shower thing, still not keen, as you can see. But I'm working on it. I'm working on it for sure. So, getting back to what we were talking about, I'm just going to start tonight with saying, we often think of unforgiveness as being something or someone else outside of us. The truth is, very often, real forgiveness is needed for ourselves and from ourselves. I wrote a post recently and I called my BS on my own BS. It suddenly dawned on me that I was holding on to a lot of things that simply did not serve me, and in a lot of cases were not even relevant to me as a person now. I realized that it wasn't that person or situation that was hurting me now. It was actually me. And that's really a big part of when we think about forgiving ourselves. It's often about holding on to things, the pain or the hurt or the anger or whatever the case may be, even at our own self for something, and not letting that go, not being willing to kind of move through that. So I unpacked that a little more and I started to see I was actually punishing myself. I was hurting myself and holding myself back, simply not being willing to let go of all that baggage. I started to unpack it more and I realized that I needed to call myself out on my own BS and stop stopping my own growth, because effectively that's what we do. How many times have you, if you think back in your situation, I'm pretty safe to say most of us could relate to this at some stage in our life. Somebody said something to us and for whatever reason we've grabbed a hold of it, right? And so let's use the example of work. Somebody's told us we weren't good enough for a job, right? And it was a person we valued. And so we've taken that on as part of our belief system so that the next time an opportunity comes up for us to go for a promotion or something like that, we back away from it. We pull back. We're like, oh, no, I don't know enough about that situation, right? And the truth is that if we were to either there's lots of options we could do. We could educate further about that. We could learn on the job, which you do in most jobs, right? But the story we tell ourselves is the recycled story of one individual. And we can sometimes grab a hold of that and make it a holistic thing. And it's like that in many, many areas of our life. And I'm going to unpack that a little bit more as I go along. What I discovered with I called myself on my own BS post, was that I needed to forgive myself for the hurt and ongoing suffering I was causing me. Okay. We often think about needing the apology. Yeah, needing the apology. But what about the one we don't give ourselves? What about the one we don't tell ourselves? And we so often miss that. Yeah, a lot of our pain often isn't really after that person or event. It's the fact that we haven't let it go. Yeah, we're still hanging on to that. And so when you think about that, the event's over, the person no longer there, they're gone off doing their own thing, or that situation's now finished. Who's the person who's really paying for that now? Right? You are. I am. Yeah. And the person who's really pulling out all the hammers and chains and throwing them at me is actually me. And I'm like, what? Where did that come from? And I woke up and I sort of looked at it and I was like, oh my gosh, girl, what are you doing? What are you doing? And I went, it's really not okay. I need to take ownership of that. And I need to apologize to the parts of me I've hurt by hanging on to stuff I wouldn't let go of, and not forgiving myself of the times I've made mistakes. Who's pretty heavy on the mistake channel here? Who's ever made a mistake in their life? I know I've made a million. No, millions. Yeah. And who's pretty heavy on hanging on to that stuff? Yeah. Right. Oops. Me again. Me again. Yeah. And then you go away and you kind of like, you want to bury your head in the sand. And I'm like, oh, a bit like that emu, I'm just going to stick my head in the sand and hopefully nobody will notice me. But the truth is that every human being makes mistakes. We all do. And that's part of learning. And it's something that none of us in humanity are ever going to be able to escape. And in fact, if you want to grow as a high value woman, part of that is making mistakes, sometimes big ones. Yeah. Hopefully, as we grow and develop, we get a little bit better at doing that differently. But we will never be perfect, right? Because every level we go up, every situation we go up to, right? Every time we grow, we're going to be faced with new learning, new ideas, new things, and we're going to make mistakes. Yeah. But if we constantly beat ourselves up about it, all right, then we're going to really limit what we're willing to do. And we're going to start to feel unsafe about our own judgment. And what tends to happen from that is we then also judge others from the standard in which we're projecting of ourselves. Yeah. This is what's going on in here. It's definitely going to come out here. 110%. All right. It will come out in all different ways, in shapes and forms. And many times we don't realize it, you know, and even things like when we felt like we didn't do well at school, and even though we think we're supporting and being kind of those around us who are schooling and stuff like that, our own fear of not being good can sometimes make that person feel under pressure. Even though we're coming from a good place, even though we mean well, even though we mean it kindly, it's because it's coming from a place of fear about ourselves, and that's being projected onto somebody else, even when we don't realize it. Yeah. Unforgiveness is sneaky. It hides in justification. It's my right. I should hold on to this. Who's been there? My right. I should hold on to this. I got every reason to. I can name 500 right now. I got every reason to feel like this. And maybe you do. But is it helping you? Is it changing anything for you? Are you growing and gaining from that? I don't know. That's only questions that you can ask yourself. One of the other things we might do, why should I forgive? Why should I? They don't deserve it. Why should I forgive them? Well, no, that's probably true. Maybe they don't deserve it, but the person that's really paying the penalty is you, because they're off living their best life. They're gone. The only person left with the residue is you. Condemnation's another little sneaky one. That's a good one that likes to come in. I deserve to feel this way. Yep. Self-punishment. I'm going to beat myself up because, you know, my kids annoyed me today and I yelled at them and I shouldn't have. And so now I'm going to beat myself up about that for the next 20 years. My coworker annoyed me. So, you know, I got frustrated with them and I didn't handle that well. So now I'm going to beat myself up about that. I'm just the worst person ever. Yeah. It hides as a false sense of protection. But what it really does is it robs us of our greatest self. It robs us of our true potential. Unforgiveness toward ourselves can manifest in various ways from childhood right through to adulthood. And here are some very simple examples of how this can unfold. Unforgiveness might play out in everyday situations we may not even think about. And here's some of them. So in childhood, remembering a mistake made in school and still feeling guilty about it as an adult, leading to self-doubt in professional settings. Really pay attention to some of the things and think about if any of it may be relevant. May not be to you, but I'm pretty sure some of it will be. Teenage years, holding on to regrets from teenage relationships, impacting the ability to trust and fully engage in adult romantic relationships. Ooh. Whoever had their heart broken as a teenager? Yeah, kind of sucks, doesn't it? Really does. And that first heartbreak has this real bad tendency of teaching us that we're going to be real careful who we're going to trust the next time around. Yeah. And so we kind of want to hang on to that little heart of ours. And it's like you get this much of it. That's it. That's all you're getting. I'm guarding the rest. The problem is that when you're going to go into a romantic relationship and you're thinking of a lifelong partnership with somebody, they're going to want all of your heart, not just part of it. Yeah. And let's be honest, we're going to be expecting them to give us all their heart, right? Yeah, we don't want just fragments of it. We want the whole darn thing. The good, the bad, the ugly, and in between. I love you. I want every part of you. Yeah. And so the person who loves us is going to turn up with the same request, right? Young adult life, feeling responsible for family issues during your adulthood and carrying that burden, affecting your self-worth your confidence in career decisions. Isn't that an interesting one? Yeah. Feeling responsibility for family issues during young adulthood and carrying that burden. The outworking can very often be affecting your self-worth, confidence, and your career paths. Yeah. How many people had parents or loved ones around us who very kindly said, make sure you do this and do that because you can only get this job and you need to work from 9 to 5 and you need to do this and go and work at the supermarket because great Aunt Bertha and every other family member has done that since, whatever time and year that was. And so you should do the same. But that child has an entrepreneur mind and wants to start a business of their own. And suddenly well-intended people with a mindset start saying, no, you can't do it. No, you can't do it. And we take that on and we go for that job at that cashier, and that's where we stay for 30 years. Nothing wrong with that if you're happy. But the truth is, if you're not, then you're not living to your true self. Yeah. And so the person who pays the penalty for that is you. Yeah. In mid-adulthood, blaming ourselves for not pursuing a passion earlier in life and letting that regret cloud present opportunities for personal growth and fulfillment. Yeah. Blaming ourselves for not pursuing a passion earlier in life. This was so relevant for me. I became a coach probably about 2 years ago. I started my journey as a coach when I was in my 50s. Yeah. Yeah. And everyone else had career paths that I knew and had been working for a long time. I've been raising a family of children with autism and dedicated my life to that. No regrets. Do it all again tomorrow. Right. But my career path was very limited in opportunities that I could do. So I had to start when I was a lot older. And I remember sitting there thinking, I'm 50, half my life's gone. Like, what am I going to do with that? And thinking of all these opportunities when I was younger that I just let slip by. And I sort of kind of got really depressed about it. And I thought, well, I've got two things I can do. I can either stay stuck in this depression or I can get up and give it a go. Yeah. And I chose to get up and give it a go. And boy, am I glad I did, because I get to talk to you lovely girls now. And so, but it's the impossible dream. Looking at my background, the checklist wouldn't have looked good. She's been to 42 schools. She left school when she was 14. She's had multiple jobs. She's moved all over Australia. She's come from a trauma background. She's come from a broken family. She's struggled. She's had problems with mental health. How could she possibly have any kind of leadership job? And for many years, I let that record play in my head. But the truth is, it's all of those experiences is exactly why I can be in the job I'm in. Because all of those experiences taught me things that I can now pass on to other people. All of those things made me make different choices in life that led me to a healthier and happier pathway. And I get to share that with everybody else now. And that's exactly the same for you. Parenting. Oof. Feeling guilty for perceived parenting mistakes and constantly doubting one's ability as a parent, or this could also be in a relationship, constantly doubting yourself and affecting the parent-child relationship and personal well-being or the partnership. Who's ever done that before? Yeah, 110%. I love my kids, but boy, did I beat myself up because I wasn't perfect. Yeah, every time. Did it help me to parent better? No, because I was still me. That wasn't going to change. So I could sit there and feel awful for 2 days, but it wasn't going to change the fact that I'm still who I am, One of the greatest things that I ever taught my children was that I'm human. And with being human comes vulnerability. And I remember sitting down in front of my children and crying and saying, I'm so sorry, but today Mummy's sad. Mummy's feeling sad. You've done nothing wrong. but mummy's just feeling sad and I'm having a really hard day today and I can't be there for you the way I want to be. And I'm so sorry. But right now, mummy just needs a hug. And you know what my kids did? They gave me a hug. Yeah. They gave me space. They gave me love and understanding. And you know what happened? We had a closer relationship. Yeah. It also taught my children that imperfection was okay and was allowed. It was acceptable. It was okay to make mistakes and it was okay not to have the answers. Yeah. So that was one of the lessons I took away from that. In our work life, being hard on ourselves for past career choices and not allowing room for growth and learning from those experiences, hindering professional development. Who's ever done that? Oh, I screwed that up, so I'll just kind of sit here and yep, I've definitely done that too. I remember I was in a job and I was very, very good at the job. I really was, right? But here's what happened, and people-pleasing tendencies. I got into a management position and I'd never been a manager before, but I was definitely qualified for what I was doing and I had a really good rapport with the clients. I was client services coordinator and I absolutely loved my job. But the girl who was in administration, she took a disliking to me. And for whatever reason, I think probably I intimidated her, but she really just pulled me down. Everything I did wrong, she highlighted it, highlighted it, highlighted it, highlighted it, highlighted it. And I stepped down from the role. Yeah, I stepped out of the role because I was allowing what another person was saying and doing to affect my knowledge of my capacity to be able to do my job. Yeah. Coming from a long background of people pleasing and feeling unconfident in who I was. And for a long time, I also beat myself up about that until I realized, well, that's also not going to help me to get to where I want to be. But I certainly understand that I didn't turn up for me at that time. And I was really disappointed in myself for not doing that, you know, because I was at a stage in my life where I probably had a voice to definitely do that at that time. But still, that feeling held me back. Social interactions, holding on to past social situations and using them as a basis for self-criticism, leading to anxiety in social situations and difficulty forming new connections. I like to think I get along with everybody, but there are certain people that I can be intimidated by. Is anybody else like that? In certain social settings, you can feel a little bit like, feel a bit of fish out of water here. Definitely feel like that. Yeah. And I can definitely be like that. And I have to remind myself that who I am is enough, no matter what the situation is. Whether I'm sitting next to the King or Queen of England, or whether I'm sitting next to a person who's on the streets, who I am doesn't change. And my value as a person and the gifts and talents I bring aren't determined by another person's title or status. Yeah. But I still have to remind myself of that. And that's another time that we can sometimes not turn up for ourselves. These examples are just a demonstration of how unforgiveness toward ourselves can persist across different life stages and impact various aspects of our life, and really shows us the importance of self-compassion, forgiveness for our personal growth and well-being. Unforgiveness toward ourselves can have a profound impact on our relationships with others, ourselves, and the world around us. It really does affect every aspect of our life. When we hold on to grudges and self-blame, it creates a barrier that hinders our ability to connect authentically with those around us. And I really want to focus on authenticity here. What's your version of authenticity? Do you want to drop it in the chat for me? I'd love to hear. What's authenticity mean to you? Like I said, I could sing while you girls do that, but you probably don't want me to do it. um, Being myself, no matter how others behave. Yep, that's definitely right. Yeah. Being myself unapologetically all the time. Love it. Being transparent, truly being yourself. Love that, Kerry. Love that. Being transparent and truly being yourself. Unapologetically. Yeah. Unapologetically. All the time. Yeah. No matter the situation. And when we think about that and we answer that question honestly, knowing that authenticity means that that's the essence of who we are, right? That's our truest self. Can we agree that we don't always turn up like that? I know I don't always turn up like that. Yeah. And when we don't turn up like that, what does that actually feel like inside? Yeah. Being who I am and living from my heart. Absolutely, Tay. Yeah. Very much so. What does it feel like? Drop it in the chat. What have you felt like before if you haven't lived out of your core beliefs? Thank you, Jessica. Frustrating. Yeah. Hugely frustrating. Feeling disappointed at the time. Yeah. A traitor to myself. Yeah. 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 Really does a lot of damage, doesn't it? A lot of damage when we don't turn up for ourselves. And so when we think about unforgiveness to ourselves, it's all these times when we haven't turned up as our authentic self that we're talking about. It's the times when we've made mistakes and we haven't given ourselves the grace that we're talking about. It's the times that we've hang on to past things that have happened. It's the times that we've not moved forward to be the truest person we are because of it. It's those times. The weight of unforgiveness toward ourselves can seep into our interactions with others, leading to strained relationships and misunderstandings. That's another thing I really want to open up on. It's really hard to have an authentic relationship if we're not authentic. Let me say that again. It's really hard to have an authentic relationship if we are not authentic. Yeah. And where does that become an issue? We have relationships with every interaction we have, whether they're passing, incidental, or ever more permanent nature, whether it's family, friends, or even foes. Doesn't matter what that looks like. It's relationship. And the key to being peaceful and harmonious in that is in turning up authentically. Because like me, love me, hate me, whatever the case may be, I know you saw me. I know you saw me. I don't have to walk away with any doubt that I turned up as someone different and feel like I've let myself down. It can make us very guarded and less open, and it can cause us to project our own self-criticism onto those we care about, impacting the quality of our connections. And that is so true in relationship. And the closer the relationship, we'll normally find that that tends to come out a bit more. Who's ever done that with their hubby or partner or, I know that I have definitely, yeah. Yeah, if I felt agitated about something and I can project that on my husband, I definitely can. And so I have to pull my backs up and say, whoa, girl, what's that really about there? Come on now. That's not even his fault. Like, this guy's just sitting there minding his own business. Come on now. And sometimes you've really got to pull yourself back on it, right? But you got to dig a little bit further. Where's that come from? What's the question around that? When we carry unforgiveness within ourselves, it can breed feelings of inadequacy, and that's where this comes from, and self-doubt. This inner turmoil can manifest in our behaviours, affecting our self-esteem and confidence. This leads to us not trusting ourselves and feelings of condemnation and unworthiness. And that's really what the thing is here. When we hold unforgiveness in our heart to ourselves, we feel like we've let ourselves down and we haven't dealt with it. The reality is we start to doubt who we are. We start to doubt what we think and believe, and therefore we feel unsafe because we don't feel like we can trust ourselves. right? And so what happens then is we start to question other people. We start to question what's going on around us. Yeah. And if we're honest with ourselves and really think about that, whether we want to admit that or not, I can just about guarantee that showed up in everybody's life at some stage. Yeah. And when you talk about unforgiveness, that can be a good starting point to be turning up and forgiving yourself for that. So you can give yourself permission to turn up authentically, turn up as you. Yeah. Each and every one of you girls, I don't know you all personally, but you turn up here each week and you're honest, you're authentic, you're caring, you're loving. You have so much to give to the world. Don't ever shy away from that or hide that. Don't rob the world from the gifts that you bring because the world needs you. It really does. And your children and friends' children and families' children and people passing by in the supermarket, all of these people, they watch and learn from you. I remember one time I was out at a supermarket. I actually had a disagreement with my husband. It was quite a vocal one. And we were in the car park, and I've got a very loud voice. I get going sometimes. And I remember looking around and there was these people just laughing on the other side. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like I live in a small town. I really hope like I don't see these people again. I was just like, I was so embarrassed. But it really made me, what was I embarrassed about? I was embarrassed at the way I was behaving, right? And why? Because it probably wasn't warranted. Okay. I was being a bit childish at the time. I was frustrated. So, it was probably not warranted. And it was probably I'd spoken to about joy, love, and peace only, an hour before. And here I am losing it in the middle of the supermarket. You get tested on this stuff, I tell you. But yeah, so, it's understanding that and just coming back and going, you know what, okay, whatever. I was a bit of a goofball today. Yeah, that's life. I'll do better tomorrow. It's fine. you know. And you have to forgive yourself from that. But a lot of people will feel the embarrassment and the shame of that and carry that with them. And then go home and the argument still continues, even though it was really probably finished 2 hours ago. But because you're feeling embarrassed, because you're feeling bad about yourself, it comes out again. Yeah. So, can you think of anything you haven't forgiven yourself for or may need to forgive yourself for? Write it in the chat or just write it for yourself. And I'd want you tonight just to think of an issue you would like to work on and start there. Try not to judge it as right or wrong, but allow your heart to be what really guides you through. All right. So, just really have a think about that. And just think of one thing, because I know all of us in some area are definitely going to have something that we could come up with we need to forgive ourselves. Yeah. Unforgiveness becomes a cycle where our unresolved issues with ourselves spill over into how we perceive our worth and abilities. On a broader scale, the energy of unforgiveness can create a negative ripple effect in the world around us. It can cloud our judgment, leading to misunderstanding and conflicts with others. This negativity can also impact our view of the world, making it harder to see the beauty and possibilities that exist. By harbouring unforgiveness toward ourselves, we limit our growth, our potential. It becomes challenging to move forward and embrace new opportunities when we are weighed down by past mistakes and self-criticism. Forgiveness towards ourselves is essential for personal development and creating a more positive impact on the world. When we release ourselves from the burden of unforgiveness, we open up a space for healing and growth. I know for me that as I started to work on forgiveness of others, forgiveness of myself, and letting go of stuff, really for me, it was about letting go. That led to some of those letting go processes to be some relationships that I had to let go of. And they were people I loved very much. And I didn't deal well with that because I had major abandonment issues, because everything when I grew up left me or hurt me. And that's the truth. That's what happened. All right. My mum was the only one thing in my life that didn't leave me. Everything else did. All right. And so I had massive abandonment issues. So if I formed an attachment with somebody, I cleaved like glue to that attachment, even when the relationship was abusive. Yeah. Once I started to work through forgiveness and including forgiving myself, I had to start to realize that I need to work on forgiving myself for holding on to relationships like that were damaging me. Yeah. Damaging me, damaging my relationships, damaging my growth. And it was tough to do. It was really tough. It's not easy to sever ties with people you still hold space for and still love, and you're still praying that they'll change and be better people. And maybe in a year or two time they will be, but that might not be with you in their life. Sometimes losing a friend is what causes the change for somebody else. Yeah. It's a tough one, and it's hard, but we have to do it sometimes. And that helped me to grow and allowed me to make much healthier connections. Even today, I went to a group today with other ladies and had a coffee. It was so nice to feel free and just turn up as myself, to be embraced and accepted truly as I am, just being who I am. It was a very freeing feeling, a very loving feeling that I still embrace now, because it took me a long time to get to that place. Forgiveness allows us to approach relationships with a clearer perspective, to build deeper connections, build on understanding and empathy. Forgiveness towards ourselves is not only liberating, but also paves the way for a more harmonious and fulfilling life journey. Forgiving yourself is a journey that often involves reflecting on times when you didn't speak up for yourself, when you were focused on people pleasing, or when you allowed others to hurt you in search of external validation. And that's so true, because when you've grown up being a people pleaser, or even achievement based, whatever that may be, it still comes from being validated. And validation in itself, what we need to understand about that, it's a basic human need. We need this. All right. It comes from significance. Okay. And feeling like we have a place in the world. And that validation makes us feel like we have a place in the world. And so because it's a core need, we can't live without it. So if we can't find validation positively, guess what we do? We outsource and look for it in a negative way. Yeah. And that's when we allow things like people in our life who really aren't right to be in our life anymore, and definitely not helping us to grow. And we can't help them to grow because of where they're at. And they are hurting us, to stay in our life because we want validation. We want to feel significance. We want to feel like we belong. Yeah. And we allow ourselves to stay in that position for so long because we don't want to let go. It's crucial to recognize these moments and understand that forgiving yourself is a process of self-compassion and growth. Understanding every step, every journey that you've taken in your whole life has led you to this moment. Yeah. Has led you to the person you are now, and has led you to the person you become tomorrow and the next day and the next day. Yeah. It's an ongoing process. Being kind to yourself. You were doing the best you could do with the knowledge you had in the time you were in. It's such a freeing statement, right? To simply accept yourself as you are and know it's okay. But it's that same acceptance that leads us to make different decisions where we can embrace that authenticity freely. Because if we're all just turning up as we are and doing the best we can in any given moment, then we can make room for each other. Yeah.
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 True.
Has anyone been a people pleaser in here and done things, or can think of a particular people pleasing time? Yep, toxic relationships. Yeah, want to drop it in the chat for me if you're comfortable. You don't have to say names, who, what, but just a brief situation that might have come up for you. Maybe it was school, maybe it was in the home front, maybe whatever it was. And I want to thank you, beautiful ladies, for your participation too. I really appreciate it. I really do. It's good to know that it's resonating with you. Just waiting for it to come up through the chat. I was a long-time people pleaser in my first marriage of 22 years. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. I think that's Deb. Yeah. Thank you, Deb, for sharing that. Yeah. I certainly can relate to being like that. Yeah. I used to do what I'm told at work and spend so much time helping others. I didn't get my work done and I had zero job satisfaction. It was when I broke the drama cycle of rescuing people, my career really soared. Yeah, absolutely, Shelley. Yeah, absolutely. The workplace can be such a place for that. You too, Ali. Yeah. Yeah, and it's great that she got through that, because a lot of people don't. You get stuck in it and it can be hard, so well done. It takes a lot of courage to work through that. So there are instances in life where we find ourselves in situations where we remain silent, not voicing our thoughts or standing up for ourselves. It's common to look back at these moments and wish we had spoken our truth. And I think, Ali, also from a DV background, so part of existing in that space is continually peacekeeping. I really, really, truly relate. Yeah. AJ, when my friend was in a bad situation after she lost her job, I was thinking I was holding her up by attending her long conversations, though the negative thoughts were bringing me down. Yeah. And, that comes from such a beautiful space of love. But sometimes that beautiful space of love becomes something that brings us down, and we have to say no to protect ourselves. Yeah. Yeah. Forgiving yourself for these times means acknowledging that you are human and it's okay to learn from these experiences. And that's something that I really want to share in this space, is to open up and invite you to actually be okay with that. Like, to be okay with the mistakes that you've made, and let that sit with you without condemnation, without judgment. If you could think to yourself right now, I had a clean slate today, and I've never done anything wrong in my life, right? But I've gained all this knowledge, but I've never done anything wrong in my life, right? To sit in that space. It's a new slate. It's a new beginning. It's a new day. Because realistically, every single day we turn up, it is a new day. Whatever happens already gone. The future's not known. Yeah. The present is the only thing that we have, and that's why it's a gift. Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Got it from The Lion King. Kind of cool. Love to tell you I got it from some big philosophical book, but I didn't. I got it from The Lion King. So people pleasing can lead us to compromise our own needs and desires to fulfill the expectations of others. Yo. When we reflect on these instances, it's essential to forgive ourselves for prioritizing others over our well-being. Self-forgiveness involves understanding it's okay to set boundaries and prioritize our self-care without feeling guilty. Yeah. Like I said, that time I had that conversation with my kids, I'm sorry. Today I'm not okay. Yeah. Yute says, I tried to please my mother so she wouldn't yell at me. And of course it didn't work. Yeah. Yeah. And I tried with many, friends and family members, same sorts of things. And just, yeah, we've definitely all been there. So it's about prioritizing your self-care without feeling guilty and setting boundaries that are healthy. Who in here knows we teach people how to treat us? Ooh, hello. Yeah. We often don't like to hear that one, but it's an absolute truth. Yeah. We teach people how to treat us by the things we don't say. Yeah. By the things we don't say. The things we accept, the things we allow, and the things that we don't stand up for. All teach people how to treat us. Yeah. And they will treat you accordingly. They absolutely will. Yeah. Because they're human. All right. And humans are not perfect. Yeah. We're all going to make mistakes. So allowing others to hurt you in exchange for external validation is a common struggle many people face. Yeah. And remember, I said back to you back that core need of significance. That's often where we need the need of validation and approval is to feel accepted and to feel a sense of belonging. Yeah. When it comes to our own self need and being accepted in a family situation, often we will forfeit our own need to be accepted within that family situation. Yeah. Because our sense of belonging. Yeah. Yeah. And it's something really important to understand because that's something that as human beings, we will often forfeit ourselves in order to be accepted. Yeah. I know for me, there were many times as I was growing up, I did not voice what I wanted to. And I did that to avoid conflict, to avoid being guilted, shamed, or rebuked because I didn't like being treated a certain way for fear of repercussions, whether that was physical, mental, emotional, or spiritually. I grew up learning keeping the peace was paramount to my survival. The outworking to this was huge and affected every single part of my life, and it truly did. From parenting to relationships to jobs to friendships, it affected every area of my life. My inability to be able to stand up for myself and to people please, and that fear of abandonment really, really played out for me in my life. And I'm going to talk about a friendship that I had, which was for 20 plus years with a lady. And she came into my life when I was 14. She was 18. And we had a friendship for about 20 years. And during that 20-year friendship, I was the constant butt of her jokes. I was always made to feel like I was insignificant. I was always mocked, made fun of, put down, all in the name of fun. But because she turned up for me sometimes when I needed her, I clung to that relationship. She came into my life when I was quite vulnerable, and I looked up to her. And her word became law. It destroyed so many of my relationships. She was very toxic for my relationships. Even when she was sleeping with my boyfriends, I'd still continue to talk to her. This is how toxic this relationship was. But my inability to set boundaries, my inability to understand my own self-worth and value meant I put up with a constant cycle of abuse for 20 years. Eventually, I made the call on that friendship. And as tough as that was, it was the best thing I ever did in my life. Yeah. I didn't end the friendship with hatred. I wish her well in everything in life, but she is not a person I can have in my life because her behaviors are so much against about who I am as a person. And those boundaries were going to be constantly breached. She was a very controlling person who was not willing to change or try and compromise in any way. All red flags, right? We all know that. But yeah, 20 years I put up with that because of my inability to understand that. I wonder what kind of forgiveness I need to give myself for that one. Yeah. I wonder how much I need to tell myself, I'm sorry. They didn't turn up for you in that one. Forgiving yourself in these situations involves recognizing that seeking validation from others at the cost of your own happiness is not sustainable. It's important to forgive yourself for not valuing your own worth above the opinions of others. And that, like I said, that can be very tough because if you come from a trauma background, we often seek that validation as a way to feel loved, yeah, and to feel safe in our world. Growing up, I constantly had to be the peacemaker so no one would get hurt. And it led to me people pleasing all of my life. And definitely the misconception or absolutely no conception of personal boundaries, often leading to very dangerous situations. And it really did lead to very dangerous situations of being taken advantage of, and in many, many ways, because I would just follow what everyone else said to keep them happy, even if that meant compromising my own safety. Particularly if I thought it was in the name of saving a friend. Yeah. I will put myself in dangerous situations to save my friend, even though my friend was probably the person putting me in danger. Yeah. A lot of forgiveness on that one. A lot of forgiveness of not turning up for me in those moments. I did not see my own value and worth. And I also did not know how to protect myself, because the thing is, and the reality is, if we don't know our value and we don't know our own worth, we also don't know how to protect it. Because how can you protect something you don't even know? Yeah. You don't even know it exists. So we can't protect ourselves from that. There are times when we neglect our values and boundaries to maintain harmony and avoid conflict. Forgiving yourself for not upholding your values means understanding that growth comes from learning and evolving. It's crucial to forgive yourself for moments when you compromise your beliefs to keep peace, as it's a step towards self-acceptance. Forgiving yourself is a powerful act of self-love. It allows you to release the weight of the past mistakes and move forward with a sense of compassion and understanding. Remember that everyone makes mistakes, and forgiving yourself is a vital part of personal growth and healing. So embrace the journey of self-forgiveness with kindness, patience, and love towards yourself. Has anyone ever heard of Ho'oponopono? I'm not going to say it properly, but has anyone ever heard of that? Ho'oponopono. So Ho'oponopono. Has anyone ever heard of that? Yeah, you have your take? Yeah. Yeah. Let me go on and explain you what this is. Ho'oponopono is a beautiful way to truly start forgiving ourselves. So grab yourself a mirror or sit in front of one as we head into this beautiful space of forgiveness. And I'd really like to invite all of you to participate in this. It is a beautiful, beautiful space just for you. Yeah. And remember, we're in a very safe place. There's no judgment here. All right. There's no judgment. There's no right or wrong. Just come as you are. This is your moment for you, and you deserve it. The Ho'oponopono practice is a beautiful Hawaiian method of reconciliation and forgiveness. When practicing self-forgiveness in front of a mirror using the Ho'oponopono steps, we can follow these 4 simple phrases to lead into forgiveness. And I'm just going to outline them for you before we go into it. So it starts off with, I'm sorry. Start by looking at yourself in the mirror and genuinely saying, I'm sorry. This step acknowledges any pain or harm you may have caused yourself or others. And then the next step is, please forgive me. And it seems silly that you're asking yourself to forgive yourself, but it's so powerful and so needed. Follow up with, please forgive me. This phrase expresses your desire for forgiveness and healing, both from yourself and any external sources. The next step is thank you. Express gratitude by saying thank you. Gratitude is a powerful emotion that can help you shift your perspective and open your heart to self-forgiveness. And then the final one is, I love you. End the practice by saying, I love you. This step is all about self-compassion and acceptance. So, and then after we've done that, I want you to hug yourself from the inside, but I'd actually really like it if we actually all did this with ourselves, gave ourselves a really big hug in this moment, all right? A really big hug. And let me just get on to, there we go. Yeah, so hug yourself from the inside with love and kindness, allowing healing to take place. By repeating these 4 phrases sincerely, with intention, you can build a sense of peace, self-forgiveness, and healing within yourself. So if you don't have a mirror, I'm just going to use my phone and I'm going to put the camera on. But it's great if you do have a mirror. And let's start off with just looking at yourself and looking yourself in the eyes and just saying, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for the times I didn't turn up for you. Please forgive me. Please forgive me for not turning up for you. Thank you. Thank you for forgiving me. I love you. I love who you are, who you've become. I love you. Okay. Has everybody done that? Yeah. I want you to write in the chat what you thought about that experience. Was that easy? Hard? Did you feel anything inside your heart? There's a couple of reasons why I'm asking you these questions. It felt peaceful, beautiful. Felt a little odd? Yeah, it will at first, Kerry. That's quite normal. Yeah. So when we've let go, we often feel peace. And when we're still practicing that and getting used to it, we often feel a little bit odd at first. This is something I do quite regularly, not quite the same words, but similar. That's really great, Ali. It felt nice, Yute. That's awesome. Deb, flowed with grace and ease. Yeah, I love it. I love it. Anita, easy. I felt obligated to do that, asking forgiveness to myself. That's beautiful. Shelley, yeah, it was super hard, the I love you part. I found it hard to maintain contact with myself. Yeah, that's often a tricky one. Sense of happiness, a little excitement, Kerry. Beautiful, beautiful. The great thing about that particular practice is it's something that you can do again and again. As we've been learning in the series about forgiveness, you often, when you're doing forgiveness, particularly self-forgiveness, it's something you're going to do more than once. You're going to probably do that over and over again. But the great thing about that practice is that it's very quick and very easy. And as we do it, you feel the shift starting to happen. You feel the ease starting to come up. You feel the excitement, the relief, the permission to just embrace yourself as you are and to turn up for you now. Yeah, so it's very, very beautiful, a very empowering act to do. So that's a little exercise, everybody, that we can do. What I want to do tonight now is take everybody to a beautiful space of breath work, and it's just going to be on gratitude. And what I want you to focus on now is just thanking yourself for being willing to forgive yourself and turn up for you. And to really come into that space. Is everybody okay with that? Yeah. Yep, thumbs up, everybody okay? Thumbs up. Yep, yep. Beautiful, beautiful. All righty. So what we're going to do is we're going to become very, very present to where we're sitting. And so when I say become present, I mean, I want you to kind of feel the seat under your bottom, you know, where you're sitting. Become very, very focused on your body and where you are at the moment. Now I want you to gently close your eyes. If closing your eyes is difficult, that's okay. We can sometimes just find something to look at and fix our eyes on that, because sometimes closing our eyes can be difficult for people. You can still get a lot from breath work just by focusing your attention on something. The idea, though, is that we're going to concentrate on our breathing, and we're going to do what we call a heart coherence breathing. And this is a moment when we bring our body into perfect alignment, and connect with our hearts. All right. So gently close your eyes if you can. Take a breath in through your nose and down to your belly, up to your chest. Feel the breath expand and gently let go. Take another breath down to your belly, up to your chest. Expand, let go. Belly, chest, expand, letting go. Take a moment to turn your attention and thoughts inside. Belly, chest, expanding, letting go. Bring to your attention the thing that you had on your mind tonight that you wanted to work through for forgiveness. Belly, chest, expanding, letting go. Fully receive that forgiveness. Belly, chest, expand, letting go. Notice how you feel about that. What does it feel like to be in forgiveness? Belly, chest, expand, letting go. Try to recall a time when you felt this feeling of forgiveness. Maybe it was someone forgiving you. Maybe it was you forgiving someone else. And maybe it's you forgiving you. Belly, chest, expand, letting go. As you breathe in, I'm so thankful to walk in forgiveness. As you breathe out, I'm so blessed. I'm forgiven. Belly, chest, expand, and letting go. We're going to move into a space of gratitude. You might like to recall something you're thankful for. Maybe it's friends, family, connections, a holiday. Maybe it's just coming at peace with something through your day. Belly, chest, expand, and letting go. Maybe you're grateful for the clothes you're wearing and the people who make them, the chair you're sitting on, and all the people who work together to make that. Your home, the car, belly, chest, expand, letting go. Allow yourself to fully feel gratitude, release, belly, chest, expanding and letting go. What does it feel like in your body? Do you feel peaceful, calm? Maybe you have energy. That's okay. There's no right or wrong. Belly, chest, expand and letting go. Think of the words, I love you. Belly, chest, expand, letting go. As you come into this place of love and peace and acceptance, know that you are loved just as you are in this moment. Concentrate on the releasing of the forgiveness that you've had tonight. Giving thanks, releasing, and loving. I'm so thankful. I'm so blessed, just as I am. We're going to round this off now. Take a deep breath down to your belly, to your hands and feet. Gently move them. Become present and aware of your body in the seat, my voice outside of you. And when you're ready, gently open your eyes. Great work, guys. Great work. Write in the chat, let me know how you're all feeling. Have a little stretch if you feel like it too. Sometimes after breathwork, it's good to have a bit of a stretch. Peaceful. Love it, Ali. Love it. Peaceful. That's beautiful, Deb. So good. So good. Feel blessed and happy, and thank you so much. That's great. That's great. Very relaxed and calm. Relaxed and calm. Awesome. Awesome. That's really good. Yeah. It's a beautiful space to be in when we come into a place of forgiveness where we've let things go. Yeah. And a beautiful way to go to sleep tonight, knowing that we've had a beautiful time of just releasing and letting go. But what I really love you ladies to remember is when we end the call tonight, we're going to end a little bit early tonight, ladies. I hope that's okay with everybody, because it's about 15 minutes to go still. But yeah, I think the thing to take away from tonight would be to remember what it feels like to be in that space. Remember what it feels like to be in that moment of peace and calm, and how easy it is to access that at any time during the day. Yeah. As often we don't give ourselves time to experience it. So give yourself time to experience it. You deserve it. And do any of you beautiful ladies have any questions for me before I go? Please unmute if you do. Right, everybody good? I'm sorry we're a little early tonight, ladies. I hope that's okay.
That's fine. Thanks, Mel.
That's good. No worries. All right. Thank you,
Thank
beautiful
you.
ladies. You all take care. Have a
See
wonderful
you
week.
later.
Talk to you soon.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks, Mel. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Bye.